For lesson 18 for module 4, we're going to be playing around with numbers in a couple of different ways, and we're going to get the same answer in multiple ways. So it's asking us to do multiplying using a fraction form and a unit form. And I'm going to show you another way to do this as well. So the ones that they've done here that we're going to show you to start with, here's the fraction form. They've gone through and they've said, oh, 3 3/10 is the same as 33 tenths. And they've said that 1 6/10 is the same as 16 tenths. Because you remember that if you have 10 tenths, you have a 1. So here's your 10 tenths right here in the tens place in the case of 16 tenths. So, and now you just go 33 times 16. We know 10 times 10 is 100. And they used, over here, this is also to the unit form. So you could kind of use this as your scrap paper method too. 33, and then just using the word tenths. So these right here are units. And then this is the designation of what the meaning of those units is tenths. And so they've gone through, they've calculated, and they get 528, and tenths times tenths results in hundredths. And in their fraction one, because they did the math over here, you can use that same thing. Go 5 to 8, and 10 times 10 is 100, so it goes there. And we know that in this case, the 8 is in the hundredths place. So if you need to, what you can also do, remember at the beginning of the year, you could make a decimal, make a line for the tenths place, put your 8 in the hundredths place, and then just kind of fill in. The rest are along the ride. We use that phrase. So let's take a look at this one over here that they've kind of already got started. I'm going to go ahead and do the unit version first and then the fraction version over here so we actually have the math part done. And so they've said 33 tenths. The 3 is in the tenths place. That's how we know what word to put here. The 8 is in the tenths place. That's how we know what word to put here. If we had another number over here in the hundredths, then we would use the word hundredths over here. If we had a digit way over in the thousandths, then we would know to put thousandths in there. So we know 8 times 3 is 24. And 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26. So this right here, now, instead of saying it's tenths, because tenths times tenths is hundredths. I'm just going to do like that. I'm going to make my pen a wee bit smaller too, because it's a little thick to work with today. It's left over from my charting yesterday. Remember that one where I had to color in some graphing? So it's left over from that. So this one right here, if we're going to do this fraction style, this one is going to be 33 over 10, 33 tenths, times 8 over 10, 8 tenths. And we've done this math right here, so we know that it's going to be 264, and that 10 times 10 is 100. And you might remember from the beginning of the year, there's 2 zeros, so this is going to lose 2 decimal places. So if the decimal goes from here, moves over 1, moves over 2, it'll be 2 decimal 6, 4. And the 4 right now is in the hundredths place. So this would be 264 hundredths. All right, here's another way to do this. Let's see if we can move this paper over a little bit. We'll just do it this way instead. We'll extend this off to the side. So I'm going to do it over here. So I'm going to make this off to the side. So if we have 3 3/10, also known as 33 tenths. If I multiply this by 10, it's the opposite of dividing by 10, right? So if I do this and I say I'm going to multiply it by 10, I'm going to get 33. And then the other one, if I have 8 tenths and I multiply it by 10, I'm going to end up with 8. And now what I can do is go 33 times 8. I just have to remember what I multiplied by, because I'm going to have to undo that at the end. And we know that this is going to be 264. And now if we multiplied it by 10, it means we have to divide by 10. So if I divide this by 10, I know the decimal is going to move one place. If I divide it by 10 again, because I have to undo the other multiply by 10, I have to undo it. I'm going to move the decimal again one more place. And we end up with 2 and 64 hundredths. So this is kind of the playing with numbers idea, and you can do this in any of those ways. The one that kind of moves towards the way that, parent style is this one. It's the reason why at the end of the multiplication problem, why you move the decimal. Because you kind of imagine that you're getting rid of the decimal to begin with, and then you have to put it back again. And this is the math as to what's happening with that. So let's take a look at number 2, and we'll do together C. Here we are. So this one's asking us to multiply using fraction and unit form, and it's telling us the first one's partially done for us. So I'm just going to skip up on those, and I'm going to do C. So I'm going to do the unit form first, because that's doing the actual calculation. 404, and the 4 is in the hundredths place. So I'm going to label that. Here's the unit form. HUNDREDTHS, hundredths. The next one is 32. The 2 is in the tenths place. TENTHS, tenths. And so then we're going to calculate it out. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 4 is still 8. And now, because of having, this is 3 tens, right? This is 30. 30 times 4 actually gets us 120. So here's the 0. Here's the 2. And then we've got 3 times 0. Wait, we're carrying a 1. 3 times 0 plus 1 is 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Then we add them up. 8, 2, 9, 2, 1. And then we think hundredths and tenths. So hundredths times tenth is going to be thousandths. That means that this right here is going to be in the thousandths place, the hundredths place, the tenths place. Here's your decimal. Now if we think about this, we want to kind of double check our work. Does this make sense? If you ignore your decimals, 4 times 3 is 12. So it must be true. And now doing it fraction form, we're going to have 404 hundredths, because the 4 was sitting in the hundredths place. Now what are we multiplying by? 32. The 2 happens to be in the tenths place. So it's like dividing by 2 to make that 2 go into the decimal spot. And though we calculated it, and we had these numbers, 1, 2, 9, 2, 8, and 1 times 1 is 1. 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3 zeros. Over 1,000. And so when we actually go through and we say if we divide this by 1,000, the 8 is going to lose, everybody's going to lose 3 place values. So you remember on our place value chart how we would draw the arrows? So the 8 would go over 3 of those columns in the place value chart. So if the 8 goes over 3 place values, so does the 2, so does the 9. So 1, 2, decimal, and then we've got 9, 2, 8. So they match. Let's take a look down here. I'm going to do one of these with that method that I showed you at the beginning. I'm not going to do any word problems today. We know that if we have 6 and 50 hundredths. The zeros in the hundredths place, 6 and 50 hundredths. So if we go 6 and 50 hundredths, and I multiply it by 100, I'm going to get 650. We know that if I have 4 and 5 tenths and I multiply it by 10, I'm going to end up with 45. And now I can multiply those. 5 times 0, 5 times 5 is 25. Oh, that needs to be a 5. I need to carry the 2. 2. And then 6 times 5 is 30, plus 2 is 32. And then we've got 40. So it's in the tens place. So I'm going to put my 0 here to get rid of the ones place. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 5 is 20. We've already got a 2 up there, so I'm just going to use that. 6 times 4 is 24. 25, 26. 26. We add them together. 0. This was a 5 that I goofed up. It's messy. 2. 6 and 3 is 9. Here's another 2. And now we have to think about, okay, so I multiplied by 100. So now if I divide by 100, that's going 2 place values. And then if I divide by 10, that's another place value. So the answer that we're going to get in this case is 29.250, or 29 and 250 thousandths. Now if we look at this and double check, does this seem correct? 4 times 6 is 24. 29 is pretty close to 24, so we're probably doing okay in that case. So here is your problem set for your homework. Multiply, do at least one problem using the unit form, didn't mean to click that, and at least one using the fraction form. So you can pick one of them and do it 2 different ways. So just pick one, either A, B, C, or D, and then do it where you have, and I would start with doing that unit form because that's actually calculating it. And then when you do the fraction version, it's calculated. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down up here. Pick a letter. Pick a letter. Comma, do both ways. Using unit form and fraction form. All right, thanks.